All right, today we're going to be talking about factoring expressions. Factoring expressions is basically the exact opposite of distributive property. So when we're using distributive property to expand an expression, we use distributive property. And what do we do when we distribute? You draw arrows and you do what operation? What operation? Multiply. So let's write multiply. All right, so we multiply the number outside of the parentheses to the numbers inside, or each term inside the parentheses. So for the first example, it says 4 times 3x plus 1. So 4 times 3x is 12x, and 4 times 1 plus 4. And so that's easy. We've been doing distributive property. That's something we've mastered. We can do it with fractions. We can do it with decimals. We can do it with negatives. We can do it with positives. So that's easy. But now factoring an expression, that's what you'll write on the next line. Factoring an expression is the opposite of expanding an expression. So to factor an expression, you need to find the greatest common factor and move it to the outside of the parentheses. So today we're going to be working on is finding those greatest common factors and then you being able to factor the expression on your own. So looking at the example here, we have 4x plus 10. Our greatest common factor here is 2. So we're going to take out a 2, and really what we're doing here is saying, okay, 4x divided by 2 gives me 2x, and then 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. So now if I were to redistribute this, 2 times 2x is what? 4x. 2 times 5? 10. Plus 10, we get what we started with. All right? So we're going to be working today on how we can do that. Some of you might remember a little bit from last year, just talking about at least greatest common factor, and we're just extending that knowledge. So looking at the first one, we have 6x plus 12. So I'm going to go ahead and write down my factors for 6. So 2, 3, 6. So these are my factors for 6. And then I'm going to write down my factors for 12. 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And so what is my greatest common factor here? 6. So I'm going to circle 6. And now I'm going to try and factor my expression. Now we said that factoring our expression is taking out your greatest common factor and putting it outside of the parentheses. So we're going to bring it out here. We have 6 times something. Now when I'm taking that out, since it's the opposite of distributive property, distributive property is using multiplication. When I take it out, what operation do you think I'm going to use? Division. So instead of multiplying using distributive, factoring, we're going to divide. So we have 6x divided by 6 plus 12 divided by 6. And now we need to just simplify this. So we have 6 times, what's 6x divided by 6? 1x. So we can just write x. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. So plus 2. And so this is my factored expression. I took what both of them had in common and I factored it out. Or I can say I divided it out. All right? So moving on, so this is our answer for the first one, our factored expression. Now going on to the next one, we have 24x minus 18. So let's write our factors down. 2, 3, 4. So these are my factors of 24. 6, 8, 12, and 24. And then my factors for 18, 2, 3, 6, 9, 18. So what is our greatest number here that goes into both? 6 again. All right, so we're going to take that 6 and put it outside of the parentheses. And everything inside the parentheses, we're going to divide by what? 6. So I have 24x divided by 6 minus 18 divided by 6. So 24 divided by 6 is 4x. Now we're just simplifying, and then 18 divided by 6 is minus 3. And so our answer will be 6 times 4x divided by 3. And so if we were to distribute this stuff again to check our answer, we can see that 6 times 4x is 24x, and 6 times negative 3, we get our 18. So if you want to check your answer, you're not sure you divided correctly, just distribute. We know how to do that. We've mastered that. And then try to see if you get the same result. All right, looking at the next one. We have 8 minus 12b. So let's find our factors. So factors of 8, 2, 4, 8. Factors of 12, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. What is our greatest common factor for these two? 4. And so we're going to divide out a 4. So we're going to factor that out, put it outside the parentheses. And so we have 8 divided by 4 minus 12b divided by 4. Now we just need to simplify. 4 times, what's 8 divided by 4? 2. Minus 12b divided by 4? 3b. And so that is our factored expression of the original. We're just taking out or dividing out our greatest common factor. All right? I want you to try the next one. I'll give you 30 seconds. Find your greatest common factor first, and then try and factor it out or divide that number outside of the parentheses. About 5 more seconds. All right. So let's figure out our factors of 12. Check your work. So 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Factors of 10, 2, 5, 10. Our greatest common factor here is going to be 2. And so I'm going to divide out of 2, factor out of 2, put it outside my parentheses. So 12x divided by 2 plus 10 divided by 2. Bring down my 2, simplify what's on the inside. 12 divided by 2 is 6x. 10 divided by 2, 5. And so our answer is 2 times 6x plus 5. Right? Now let's take a look at the next one. How about you try that one? Actually, let's do this one together because there's more than one common thing these two things have. So they have a common factor with their numbers, and they also have a common variable that we can take out. And what is that common variable? X. So we're going to first write down our factors of 16. So we have 2, 4, 8, 16, 8, 2, 4, 8. And then X is also a common factor. So I'm going to just write X down at the bottom as well, because we can factor out an X. So what is the greatest common factor here? 8. So I wrote X down here just so I remember they both share an X right here. And so I'm going to be factoring out an 8X. And so I'm going to put the parentheses. We have 16X divided by 8X minus 8X divided by 8X. So now I want to bring this down. What's 16X divided by 8X? Just not 2X, but just 2, because we've taken out an X. So X divided by X is going to give us 1. So the X's disappear. When you divide an X by an X, you're disappearing. They cancel each other out. Okay? And then minus, what's 8X divided by 8X? 1. So now, question for you. Since we have something that are the same in parentheses, can't we just simplify that? All right, and what do we get? 8X times what? 1. And 8X times 1 is just going to give us 1. Now, I also want you to take a look at this here. What are these like terms? Yeah. So we can simplify that. What is 16X minus 8X? 8X. So we end up with the same thing we started with. All right? So this is just another way for getting your answers. Go ahead and try this last one. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. All right, so let's take a look at this next one. Our factors of 24, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. Factors of 16, 2, 4, 8, 16. So our greatest common factor here is 8. We're going to factor out an 8, so put the 8 outside of the parentheses. 24 divided by 8 minus 16x divided by 8. What's 24 divided by 8? 3. And then 16 divided by 8? So we have 2x. And that will be our final answer. 8 times 3 minus 2x. Now, a way to check your answers if you're not sure, distribute what you factored and make sure you get what you began with. All right?